going to change our lives, but this life is going to change our lives. And by the way, now speaking towards that, could you help people explain how you organized the book and why you did it that way?
Well, the book is organized in a very simple way. I mean, I divided it into 4 parts because there are 4 issues here that we're dealing with. The first one, of course, is we're in the field of stem cells. So we had to address the issue of stem cells, what stem cells are, what they do, what are the prospects for using stem cells and applying stem cells and so on, and sort of how this all came about. So stem cells are part 1. In part 2, we had to address the issue of nutrition and generally speaking, natural intervention. And what I did was, because I was so convinced that this was the leading or the cutting edge of nutrition, I had to trace the sort of evolution of this, where we went from the days where we just thought of taking one of their vitamins and days when antioxidants were everything and fiber and all that sort of stuff, to become right down to today, where this stem cell nutrition becomes the cutting edge of nutrition. And then we have to, of course, talk about how we got to this point and how this all came about, and there's a little of the sort of the history of how we got to this and how we found natural ways of affecting stem cells. And that's part 2. So it is a basic nutrition and supplementation. When I got to part 3, I thought we had to address a very important consideration, because we're talking about a very natural intervention. We're talking about something as common as algae and marine seaweed. I mean, such commonplace and natural products. And we had to justify that these were unlikely sources, but they were really innovative sources, and I had to justify why these sources and where they actually find the product, the raw materials, and what we know in terms of the basic biology of these things, and how we harness or harvest all this. We took scum and pond scum and turned it into nutritional gold, and how we go about doing that. And then, of course, monitoring quality. And, in our industry, there's so much about quality, because sometimes what you see on the label is not what you have inside the container of many nutritional products. So quality was an important issue. So we dealt with all that in part 3, where we sort of put the whole stem cell and nutrition thing together. But then in part 4, which was for me the part that I like most, I just to put it all in perspective. The perspective of stem cell nutrition vis-a-vis stem cell medicine, because we're actually in the field of nutrition here, and because we're using natural intervention, we're doing something that's universal in appeal, that's available and accessible to everybody, that does not have to be restricted to professional use, something that's widespread, can be done at any age and across cultures and generations and so on. So putting that in context, and putting stem cell nutrition as the important intervention that we can take today, and not wait in terms of stem cell research down the pike, because even when it does come in a big medical breakthroughs, which we anticipate in the future, it's going to be restricted for people with perhaps very major illnesses like spinal cord injuries and major chronic degenerative diseases and so on. That's stem cell medicine, and I wanted to show exactly how nutrition and medicine interact. And interesting that I might as well just say in passing that just as nutrition preceded medicine, or food preceded drugs, similarly, it's not surprising that stem cell nutrition should precede stem cell medicine, and which is really what I'm advocating in the book, that we don't have to wait for stem cell breakthroughs. We can actually go about applying today natural interventions to enhance stem cells in our body. That's why the mantra simply says everybody has stem cells, everybody uses stem cells, everybody uses stem cells every day. The stem cells work, and they work every time. And we have now a natural intervention that we can make to support and enhance that natural physiological process. And that's really the message of the book. And it's a novel message, and in a sense, it's a one-of-a-kind message in that sense, because you're not going to find this anywhere else. And then, of course, I finished the book by talking about stem cell lifestyle, because you have to think in terms of wellness as a product of a lifestyle. And nutrition is one major aspect of it, and supplementation, of course, and then perhaps stem cell nutrition as a key form of supplementation becomes a sort of major other lifestyle factors, which do also, by the way, affect our stem cells. Whether we talk about things that are negative, like smoking and drugs and so on, but more importantly, the positive things like moderate exercise, like getting adequate sleep, like having good mental attitude, like making sure our diet's complete and balanced, and then, of course, using good supplements, and in particular, stem cell nutritional supplements. So the book lays out in those 4 parts, and you can pick up any one of the parts. You can read in any order you like, because each one is sort of self-contained. There's part 1 on stem cells, part 2 on nutrition, part 3 on putting it all together, and part 4 on giving it perspective. But in addition to that, I did something even better than that. I went and summarized each part in what I call a 12-point summary, which means that if you don't even want to be bothered by going through all the detail in the book, you can just simply pick up, read the preamble to each part, which sort of gives you a basic introduction to what the part is all about. And then at the end, just turn to the back at the end of that section, and you'll see a 12-point summary. Read the 12 points, and in a sort of simple, concise way, I lay out what was basically covered in that whole section. So I expect a lot of people won't read this book from cover to cover. They'll read preambles and summaries. Some people might only read one particular part because that's the part that they're focused on. And in a sense, it gives each person a flexibility of being able to